It's dinosaurs.
I believe it's clear by now that Jurassic Park is more than the technical marvel that critics and audiences lauded when it arrived in theaters in 1993. To be remembered with affection and fondness, it's not enough for a film to be an effects pioneer. It needs to mean something to the audiences. There has to be some universal truth baked into its story, some hidden depths. Hello, I am your host Brian I, and welcome back to Jurassic Kingdom's Deep Digs, where we brush away the layers of time to uncover what made Jurassic Park so truly special. Today we are exploring the dinosaurs of the first film with discerning literary eyes. There's already a ton of videos on YouTube which look at the narrative histories of the dinosaurs that appear in the series, or the marvel of their behind-the-scenes resurrection, or about their scientific accuracy versus fictional characteristics. But for this channel, I wanted to approach a video about these animals from a different angle. There are 7 dinosaur species that visually appear in Jurassic Park. They are, in order of appearance, Velociraptor, Brachiosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus, Dilophosaurus, and Gallimimus. Of these, 4 of them can be considered thematically significant to the plot of Jurassic Park. The herd of Parasaurolophus serves as little more than a moving map painting during the scene where the main characters encounter dinosaurs for the first time. The herd of Gallimimus, which we will kind of sort of revisit later in this video, they only serve in relation to the Rex's thematic purpose rather than having one of their own. And the Dilophosaurus is simply a memorable vehicle to terminate the film's human villain. Assigning irrelevance beyond that would be stretching my premise to an unnecessary degree. Each of the remaining dinosaurs is a direct avatar for some of the film's most important themes. Longtime viewers of the channel will remember that I have discussed how their collective sex, female, plays into the theme of gender dynamics explored through the characters of Ellie Sattler, Alan Grant, and Lex Murphy. But as individuals, they represent other ideas as well. I want to start with the Brachiosaurus, which appears in 3 distinct important scenes in the film. The first, as previously mentioned, occurs as the protagonists are formally welcomed to the park. The second takes place as Alan Grant and Tim and Lex Murphy rest following the traumatic Tyrannosaur breakout. And the third is upon the same set of characters waking up the next day. To understand the Brachiosaurus's underlying relevance, we must first understand Alan Grant's journey through this story. This is a man who is deeply in love with his work, but has lost touch with his inner child, so much so that he pushes back against his partner Ellie's desire to have children with him.
Kids. You want to have one of those?
I mean, what's so wrong with kids?
Oh, Ellie, look, they're noisy, they're messy, they're expensive.
He doesn't understand kids. He's forgotten what makes them tick, and he doesn't get why anyone would want to saddle themselves with what he seems to believe would be the burden of parenthood, because he knows he lacks a basic understanding of kids in the first place. To Alan Grant, the world is science. He's obsessed with the past. He studies it extensively, obsessively, seriously. Magic and wonder and all. These concepts are foreign to a no-nonsense scientist like him, but they are everything to a child and to the childlike who are experiencing something new and amazing for the first time. Nothing could be further apart than Alan Grant, hardened scientist, and Alan Grant child, or more accurately, Alan Grant father. The Brachiosauruses in Jurassic Park represent the magic and wonder of childhood. The normally stoic Grant, who I would argue is under the impression he has seen it all, is confronted with something impossible when he lays eyes on the Brachiosauruses on the plains. Examine his reaction to the world-changing technology, the Thumper, at the beginning of the film.
You gotta read it from that. Take a look.
Shoot the radar into the ground and the bone bounces the image back. 2 more years development and we won't even have to dig anymore.
Where's the fun in that?
Despite how impressive it was, Grant's only response was a wry quip, ironically, about having fun. Now contrast this with the Brachiosaurus scene. What he sees promptly makes him speechless. He becomes overwhelmed. He is quick to attempt to wrangle his emotional state by defaulting to being a professor of paleontology, but he can't hold it for long.
I think we give this careful little book on cold-bloodedness. It doesn't apply. They're totally wrong. This is a warm-blooded creature. This thing's got, what, a 25, 27-foot neck? A Brachiosaurus 30.
The dreams he had as a child, the ones every child who loves dinosaurs has, that deep desire to see a real-life dinosaur, which had led him into the science of the past, long forgotten in the quest for knowledge, it now all comes true, with almost no warning at all. He's blindsided, and Alan Grant is so overcome with these revelations that he ultimately collapses on the ground. The Brachiosauruses are the first dent in the armor, a softening of his general view of the world, which would later begin to erode further as he finds himself caretaker to Tim and Lex Murphy. It is no surprise then that the Brachiosaurus return later in the movie in two scenes crucial to Grant's development as a character. To this point, Grant has shown very little softness towards the children. In early scenes with them, he is dismissive and brusque.
I read your book.
Oh, that's great.
And then my teacher told me about this other book by a guy named Backer, and she said I should ride with you because it'd be good for you. Like I was saying, there's this other book by a guy named Backer, and he says the dinosaurs died of a bunch of diseases. He definitely didn't say they came to birth. And his book was a lot fatter than yours. It was like this. Hey.
You okay?
Hey, look at this. Wait, hey, watch. Hey, come on, watch this.
When the Tyrannosaur attacks, Grant's hero mode is activated, certainly, but I would argue his choices in the scene would have been the same regardless of who was endangered. And watch his interaction with Lex after they are safe from the Rex.
I'm right here. I'm gonna look after you, but I have to go help you, brother. So I want you to stay right here and wait for me.
He left us. He left us.
But that's not what I'm gonna do. Stay here.
There is still a level of emotional distance he is keeping between them. Rather than attempting to comfort her, Grant beelines for a simple reassurance that he would not repeat the mistakes of Donald Gennaro, who had abandoned the children to the Rex. It is not until the scene in the tree that Grant lets the wall really crumble. As they marvel at the Brachiosaurs at sunset, Grant's voice is softer than it has been up to this point, assuring Lex that the Brachiosaurs are not a threat to them. And then he does something else. He calls to the Brachiosaurs. There's no reason to do this except to be playful. Grant was performing an experiment to see if he could sing like them, but to what end? What scientific purpose does it serve? It doesn't have a scientific purpose. It's an act of youthful curiosity and little more. And it endears him to the children now in his care, who have ignored his gruff attitude toward them from the start. To his surprise, Lex and Tim curl up against him for the evening. He may not have treated them the best in their early interactions, but he had by now demonstrated to them who he was at his core, and they feel completely safe with him. And Grant further softens as Lex asks for further reassurances from him, and Tim tells him silly little dinosaur jokes. And here's something to note about Tim's jokes. Grant had been into dinosaurs since he was a child, something confirmed during the Triceratops scene.
God, she was always my favorite when I was a kid. Now I see she's the most beautiful thing I ever saw.
So it can reasonably be assumed that Grant has seen and heard it all. So either Grant has been so serious about dinosaurs for so long that he never entertained jokes about them, or Grant pretended not to know the answer to jokes he'd heard a million times already. And I think both speak to Grant's character in this moment. Finally, the Brachiosaurus' third scene solidifies Grant's transition from an aloof scientist to occasionally jocular father figure. One of the big dinosaurs has chosen their tree to eat from, and the trio wake as it moves in for a bite of food. Here, Grant makes the goofy decision to feed the Brachiosaur with a branch, wrestling with the sauropod to bring it closer so they could pet the animal. It seems completely at odds with the character we were introduced to at the beginning of the film. He would know that the animal could easily pull him off that tree, but he still chooses to attempt it anyway. For the lulz, for the sheer fun of it. The Brachiosaurus, with its impressive size, beautiful song, and majestic neck, embodies all that is awesome in the mind of the imaginative, the childlike, the young at heart. And after these encounters with these trees, we see a Grant who smiles more easily, pokes a bit more fun,
Big Tim, the human piece of toast.
and performs mild practical jokes.
I guess it means the power's off.
As he reconnects with the wonder-struck child within, which helps him better connect with the kids in his care. Elements of this are necessarily wrapped up in another dinosaur in the film. But more than being a stepping stone on Grant's journey, the Triceratops is indicative of a far more complex theme. The Trike's illness is never resolved in the finished movie, and for the longest time, I felt that this was Jurassic Park's biggest flaw. It robs the scene of a satisfying conclusion, making us wonder what, aside from emotional spectacle, could possibly be the point of even having it in the final cut. As fans, we know how the scene is supposed to end. It's in the source novel by Michael Crichton, it appears in David Koepp's script, it's in the junior novelization, and it even appears to have been shot, which we know thanks to promotional images. For those that don't know, the culprit for the illness does end up being the West Indian lilacs after all, which the Triceratops were accidentally ingesting when they ate gizzard stones. Gizzard stones, or gastroliths, are used by animals that don't fully chew their food to mash it up for digestion. The berries were subsequently getting pulverized by the stones, leading to the park and Ellie's inability to find evidence of them in the dinosaur's waste. But in reviewing what theme manifests in the Triceratops, it became a little more clear why the end of this scene was such a perfect choice to leave on the cutting room floor. Let's take a peek at a few key points of dialogue throughout the movie.
John, the kind of control you're attempting is, it's not possible. Listen, if there's one thing the history of evolution has taught us, it's that life will not be contained.
That's why we have to feed them like this. She had them all attacking the fences when the feeders came.
But your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Well, the question is, how can you know anything about an extinct ecosystem? And therefore, how could you ever assume that you can control it?
Dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together. How can we possibly have the slightest idea of what to expect?
The Triceratops represents the hubris that comes with knowledge. The many discoveries we have made, the vast wisdom we've accumulated, the deep repositories of data we've compiled, they pale in comparison with the true amount of information contained within our universe, and indeed upon our own planet. Science has made strides, of course, but the best scientists will always posit we know relatively little about the space we occupy. Even still, we as a species are so potently assured of our own intelligence that we often forget we don't have the breadth of knowledge we think we do. The Triceratops is the pinnacle of this idea. Jurassic Park resurrected animals that we actually know almost nothing about. And to believe we could use the same techniques to care for and contain dinosaurs that we use to do the same for extant fauna is ludicrous. To wit, no zoo or aquarium in the world has been able to care for great white sharks for more than a few weeks. And this is a species we have been actively studying in the wild for decades. It lives in our time, and yet we cannot care for one in captivity. How is it then that Hammond and InGen could possibly believe they could care for animals that had not walked this earth in 65 million years? The answer is because they did not for a moment consider that it could not be done. Dinosaurs were just animals, and animals have been successfully housed in zoos and preserves. It's why they hired people like Robert Muldoon and Jerry Harding. These people had experience caring for living creatures, and surely their histories made them more than capable of doing the same for the resurrected. They were wrong.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
The Triceratops' illness was frequent and regular. But see that Harding, an experienced veterinarian, is shown up by Ellie in this scene.
These are dilated.
They are?
Take a look. It's pharmacological from local plant life.
He's so convinced of his abilities that he fails to check for as obvious a symptom as pupil dilation, despite being completely at a loss as to what could be causing his animals to become sick in the first place. Various forms of hubris are seen throughout the film. There's the hubris of self that we see Dennis Nedry exhibit as he attempts to steal the embryos, which ultimately leads to his death. There's Hammond's hubris that his will was enough to make his vision a reality.
Creation is an act of sheer will. Next time it'll be flawless.
There's Muldoon's hubris that his own experience was sufficient to overcome a hunting pack of velociraptors. And finally, we have Ian Malcolm, a walking, talking collection of hubris. But who ducks the curse by having the conviction that nothing, not even his own prediction, was guaranteed.
Never repeat and vastly affect the outcome. That's
Unpredictability.
The world was chaos. is chaos, and in the view of the mathematician,
Anything at all can and does happen.
Steven Spielberg and editor Michael Kahn had to make a cut somewhere to preserve the pacing of their cinematic juggernaut, and they could not have removed a more perfect scene than this. Because by denying the audience the satisfaction of our protagonist solving the Triceratops mystery, they reinforce that our base of knowledge is exceedingly narrow, and we know less than we think, which brings us to the Velociraptors. Paradoxically, the raptors, the most intelligent and complex of the dinosaurs, represent what is likely the simplest theme of the film: greed. It is one of the driving forces of the film, nay, the series. The actions and motivations of Louis Dodgson and Dennis Nedry are the primary catalysts for the failure of order inside the park. Without their avarice, Jurassic Park may have continued for some time before it fell. See Jurassic World. Donald Gennaro is also depicted as fiscally blinded, as his concerns over the potential drag his project was developing to be are swiftly dashed when he sets $ eyes on the beasts for the first time. That being said, his greed has very little bearing on the plot beyond reinforcing this theme. But the adult raptors are where the film really drives the theme home. They are depicted as cunning and relentless. Early in the movie, as Grant is traumatizing the young boy, he asserts that if someone were to be attacked by raptors,
You are alive when they start to eat you.
setting up the rapacity of the InGen-bred nightmares that inhabited the park. Now, we had already seen a raptor attack in the opening scene, but nothing about that really speaks to the greedy nature that they would display later. It is when the cast visits the three raptors at their pen that we see it on display for the first time, wherein they are shown to devour a live steer in mere minutes, in a manner so devastating that it damages the rig used to raise and lower the breathing beef. Now, keep in mind, there are only 3 raptors, and they have just slaughtered a steer. Based on everything we know about animals in general, a full-grown meat brick like that should have satiated dinosaurs that size for days. But next we see of the raptors in the film's final act, only a day later chronologically, they escape their pen to successfully hunt and kill 2 people, Ray Arnold and Robert Muldoon. And they don't stop there. They then devote the last hour of their lives to hunting down the remaining cast not sequestered in the bunker, chasing them through the visitor center, breaking into rooms, and jumping into air vents. Why?
Why?
Animals, even intelligent ones, generally do not expend the energy to kill something unless they perceive it as food or as a threat. In nature, hunting prey is dangerous even for the predator, which Michael Crichton points out in the novel.
Big carnivores like lions and tigers often became cautious after a kill, behaving as if suddenly exposed. But contemporary scientists documented the effort behind a kill, hours of patient stalking before the final lunge, as well as the frequency of failure. The idea of nature red in tooth and claw was wrong. Most often, the prey got away. When a carnivore finally brought down an animal, it was watchful for another predator who might attack it and steal its prize.
They could injure themselves in pursuit. The prey could fight back. Another predator may choose to steal the kill, but the raptors throw all caution to the wind. Sure, they could perceive the humans as a threat. After all, it was humans that had imprisoned them. But considering none of the humans had put up anything like a fight and had in fact retreated in almost every single encounter, you would think an intelligent pack would abandon the pursuit to escape further into the park. But they don't. They stick around where they likely know the humans to be. For revenge? I guess, but even if that's the case, they are gluttonous. They do not stop. They chase and they chase and they chase, and it's never enough. They want more flesh. They want more blood. And just like every greedy character in a Jurassic Park film, they all get their comeuppance. One of them gets locked in a freezer. The other 2, well, they are so focused on killing the surviving cast that they allow a heavy-footed Tyrannosaur to sneak up on them. The point the film is making is that greed is blinding. Nedry is literally blinded by the Dilophosaurus before he's killed. Gennaro has to wipe away rain from his eyes before the Tyrannosaurus eats him. And the raptors, with all their binocular vision, don't see Rexy until it's far too late. Because the Tyrannosaurus in Jurassic Park is representative of a force against which pales the greed and hubris of mankind. Thematically, you cannot be more fundamental than Rexy. Let me explain. This is Literature 101, but if it's been a while, here's a refresher. Thematic conflicts can be boiled down to a very simple structure known as man versus. There are 7 which are generally considered the most basic tenets. Man versus man, man versus self, man versus fate, man versus society, man versus nature, man versus the supernatural, and man versus technology. Every story ever told features one of these conflicts, and the vast majority of stories utilize some combination of a number of them. Jurassic Park itself presents 4 of them in major capacities. Man versus man, man versus self, man versus tech, and most critically, man versus nature. Obviously, every dinosaur encounter can be said to be man versus nature, but the film explores a deeper meaning than just the basic man versus wild that we typically associate with the conflict between humans and animals. The relationship between mankind and nature that the film explores is more nuanced than a straightforward antagonism. It's about how nature is insurmountable.
We not only lack dominion over nature, we're subordinate to it.
Despite everything we do, or what we want to accomplish, we will always be at the mercy of nature.
John, the kind of control you're attempting is, it's not possible. Listen, if there's one thing the history of evolution has taught us, it's that life will not be contained.
Ian Malcolm almost acts as a herald for it, the Silver Surfer warning that Galactus is coming.
Oh, what's so great about Discovery? It's a violent, penetrative act that scars what it explores.
And yes, humans have done a number on this planet. We have been responsible for an absurd number of floral and faunal extinctions, going back to our primitive roots. But as Malcolm points out in the Jurassic Park novel,
the planet has survived everything in its time. It will certainly survive us. Life on Earth can take care of itself. The planet is not in jeopardy. We are in jeopardy. We haven't got the power to destroy the planet or to save it.
The Tyrannosaurus in Jurassic Park isn't just an agent of nature, but its avatar for the film. While I was writing this, I came across this YouTube video that examined which scene in each Jurassic Park film was its respective worst. I've linked it in the description, and I reached out to its creator, writer Brandon McNulty, for permission to offer a formal rebuttal to his opinion in this video, which he granted while also reminding me that I don't actually need his permission because it falls under fair use to simply do a rebuttal. But it felt odd not to ask, so I did, because I actually really respect what he does, and I usually agree with him on a lot of points. Now, he does make a point to address the difficulty of finding a bad scene in Jurassic Park.
The movie unloads one great scene after another, lots of memorable moments and great character interactions and good spectacle here.
But eventually he settles on the climax of the movie, wherein the Tyrannosaur suddenly appears in the visitor center to snatch the raptor mid-spring. Brandon asserts that this is JP's worst scene because it doesn't allow the protagonist to save themselves.
This scene drives me insane because throughout the movie, Alan, Ellie, and the kids repeatedly use their smarts to give themselves opportunities to survive. Then, at the end, they find themselves trapped between 2 raptors inside the Welcome Center. The raptors cut off their exit routes and prepare to strike, and it's a moment where the characters should come up with a clever solution to complete their escape. Instead, they don't do anything. They stand around until the T-Rex magically arrives and rescues them.
The Rex acts as a deus ex machina, preventing a satisfying ending for these characters. Respectfully, I disagree. While the original ending did present the characters saving themselves with the use of clever tricks and the skeleton of the Rex, Spielberg changed his mind during filming, sensing that audiences would feel robbed if Rexy didn't appear one more time.
We were so taken by how powerful the scenes were. Dramatically, whenever the T-Rex was in them, he was like our star.
He said, I've got to have the T-Rex back.
You just needed something like that, something like really big. So he had it all worked out, how like the Tyrannosaurus would come in like the cavalry and save the day.
I wanted the movie to end with the T-Rex having killed the last raptor.
Something about the original climax felt off to a master storyteller like Spielberg. And whether it was purposeful or not, the change is the perfect ending for this movie. Nature is not itself a character. It does not make decisions. It does not harbor any motive. It has no sense of justice or revenge or self-preservation. It just is. And it is powerful, overriding the will and logic and planning of every human character in the movie. Dennis Nedry's mostly well-laid plan is undone by a tropical storm, a factor he did not and could not predict. Without the wind and rain, Nedry's plan would have worked. He would have delivered the Barbasol can to his contact on the boat and returned to the control room in time to reverse what he had put in motion. Certainly, it seems, before the Rex is able to escape its confines, thus preventing the inciting event that would drive the rest of the film. The Rex herself wanders in and out of the narrative with complete disregard for the people and creatures around her. She has no motive beyond perhaps defending and expanding her territory. She's like the storm itself. Once she's loose, she cannot be beaten. She can be avoided for a moment, outrun, hidden from, but never beaten. Her reign of terror is akin to a previously contained sentient tornado, now let loose to do the thing she was born to do.
T-Rex doesn't want to be fat, he wants to hunt.
Finally free, she does exactly that. Completely random, non-specific, just her instincts sent into overdrive.
See, the Tyrannosaur doesn't obey any set patterns or park schedules.
Neither does nature. And the film never lets us forget she's out there, even when the characters don't actually see her.
I think it's ahead of us.
It could be anywhere.
Are you hearing this?
Spielberg wisely allows the Rex to haunt Grant and the kids all the way back to the center, so that her appearance still makes logical sense when she appears in the rotunda. But thematically, the climax works even better the way it is now. Audiences don't feel robbed by the way Jurassic Park ends. Somehow, it feels triumphant even though the characters just barely made it out of that rotunda.
Oh man, what an awesome shot. Oh, look at how the banner falls. I gotta watch this movie again.
Why?
Why?
Because the whole point of the movie is that
life found a way.
We are not in charge the way we think we are. We're at the top of the food chain, sure, but so were the dinosaurs at one point. That was taken from them by a changing world, one they were no longer built to rule over. And just like the dinosaurs before us, we cannot dominate nature. We can only try and survive it. So when the Tyrannosaur comes in to the rotunda, she's not saving the characters. She doesn't care about them. The indifference and power of the world around us is a force we can never surmount, control, or contain. It can work to our benefit or our detriment.
Kind just do what they do.
Our protagonists already obtained a satisfying victory when they managed to regain command over their technology. They restore power to the park and subsequently reboot the system to allow them to use that power to call for help. But the movie makes it clear that while we have some hand on the wheel of our mechanical creations, our biological ones don't really belong to us and won't be brought to heel.
It's still the flea circus. It's all an illusion.
So it is that the characters, humbled in the face of the natural world, are spared from a forest fire by a tsunami. The only choice is to run. Steven Spielberg's 11th hour choice to swap the original ending for one that includes the Tyrannosaur, far from being the worst scene in Jurassic Park, is actually an improvement, celebrated by fans and general audiences alike. The way the tension builds and builds as the big one doggedly pursues the cast through the center, and just when you think it can't get any more hopeless for them, her subordinate appears suddenly to really make us sweat. That moment when the Rex enters the frame breaks that tension like a bullet and elicits from the audience a sudden and immeasurable release. That scene does not break the movie, because this is what the movie is about. Maybe logic breaks here, maybe, but certainly not the thematic through line that comprises Jurassic Park. Was all this what Michael Crichton and David Koepp and Steven Spielberg intended? It's hard to say. They don't seem to address it in any interviews they give about Jurassic Park. Perhaps they reasoned that no one was coming to the chompy dinosaur movie to examine the deeper themes they had embedded into the narrative. Or maybe their writing was so efficient and tight that the themes naturally fell into place. Or maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there and I'm overthinking this movie again, and maybe I should just give it a rest already. Jurassic Park is a silly, fun action-adventure movie, and I don't have to keep analyzing it to death. But I'm not going to do that.
No, I don't want to do that.
I think Jurassic Park's themes are part of why the first movie is such a classic, and the sequels are not. It finds a deeper place to go than the simplistic man versus nature conflicts that characterize the other entries. Beyond the dinosaurs, beyond the effects, beyond the likable characters, beyond the story, Jurassic Park appeals to us on a base thematic level, and I think it's imperative that those not be lost in all the spectacle and wonder and terror. What do you think? Am I going too far? Again, am I wrong? Am I right, but you hate my face anyway? Let me know down in the comments. And stay tuned for more thoughtful Jurassic content coming your way. Subscribe to the channel so you'll be the first to know when I've posted a new video. Like and share and electrify me for blasphemy down in the comments. I'm Brian I. This is Jurassic Kingdom. Later, nerds. Oh, that is good. It's hot in here. That. This is the 4th time I'm doing this video, and I am so tired.